Michael Jordan doesn't need any introduction. He's the most famous athlete who ever lived, and a billionaire off a sneaker. But here's what almost nobody knows. In a quiet corner of Florida, Jordan got so fed up with waiting around on slow golfers at regular country clubs that he did something only he would do. He bought 227 acres of land and built his own private golf course from scratch. One so brutal, the pros who play it nicknamed it the Slaughterhouse. And that course is just one piece of a self-contained luxury world he's quietly assembled in Florida. He has mansions, a members-only restaurant, a booming tequila brand, and a $115 million super yacht. Let's get into his massive Florida empire. Chapter 1. The course he built because he hated waiting. Let's start with Grove 23, because it's the purest example of how Michael Jordan operates when he has unlimited money and zero patience. Here's the origin story, and it's very on-brand. Jordan is a famously obsessive golfer. The man is known to play round after round and bet heavily the entire way through, treating a casual afternoon on the course like Game 7 of the finals. But he kept hitting the same two problems at normal clubs: slow play, which drives a competitor like him insane, and zero privacy, because you can't relax when every other member is sneaking photos of you lining up a putt. So instead of grumbling and tipping the starter to let him play through like a normal rich person, Jordan went nuclear. He drove out to Hobe Sound, Florida, a sleepy town about 100 miles north of Miami, found a 227-acre plot of dead flat land that used to be a citrus grove, bought the whole thing, and hired one of the best golf architects in the country to build him his own personal course from nothing. He named it Grove 23. The 23, obviously, a nod to the jersey number that's stamped on basically everything he owns. And this is where you have to understand that this isn't some rich guy vanity project with a putting green and a snack bar. Grove 23 is genuinely one of the most exclusive and difficult golf experiences in the entire United States. The whole thing was designed around exactly what Jordan wanted: firm, fast, punishing golf that rewards a perfect shot and absolutely destroys a lazy one. Turning that flat, sandy, landlocked old orange grove into a world-class course was a massive engineering feat. The designers even repurposed two deep drainage canals along the property's edge into long, dead-straight water hazards, creating a rare, almost geometric look you don't see anywhere else in American golf. The result is so demanding that the touring pros lucky enough to get on, it started calling it the Slaughterhouse because it chews players up. And the membership list reads like a sports hall of fame. Fewer than 100 members total, invitation only, including hockey legend Wayne Gretzky, NFL icon John Elway, and golf superstars like Phil Mickelson and Rory McIlroy. Let that sink in. These are some of the most famous athletes alive, and they had to wait for Michael Jordan to personally invite them onto his lawn. So right away, you understand the entire theme of Jordan's Florida world. This was never about showing off to the public. It's about building something so private and so exclusive that even other legends have to knock to get in. And once you're inside the gates, the details get genuinely ridiculous. Chapter 2. Drone Delivered. Drinks and Jumpman Ice Cubes. Here's where Grove 23 stops being an exclusive golf course and turns into a window into how Michael Jordan's brain actually works, because the small touches are the entire personality of the place. Start with the clubhouse, which is a 15,000 square foot architectural showpiece that was deliberately designed to look like it's hovering, floating right over the landscape, a physical tribute to Jordan's famous hang time on the basketball court. The whole building sits on a massive cantilevered slab, so it appears to defy gravity, which is about the most Jordan thing an architect could possibly do. And they didn't stop at the shape. Even the glass panels have an elephant print pattern etched into them, a direct reference to the texture on the Air Jordan 3 sneaker, so that when sunlight passes through, it casts that exact sneaker pattern in shadow across the floor. The man turned his own shoe into a lighting effect inside his own building. There's also a strict no cell phones allowed rule inside the clubhouse because the entire point of this sanctuary is escape, focus, and total privacy. But my favorite detail, the one that tells you everything you need to know, is out on the course itself. At Grove 23, custom drones fly food and drinks directly out to players wherever they happen to be standing, so a round never has to stop and nobody ever waits on a beverage cart. And those drinks are served with ice cubes stamped with the Jumpman logo. Sit with that for a second. He's not just controlling the course, the membership, and the pace of play, he's branding the ice in your glass. This is a man who built an environment where every single element, right down to the frozen water in a cocktail, is under his control and carries his mark. Speaking of that relentless drive to fine-tune every last detail, that is what pulled someone on our team to the Pulse R8 Smart Ring. It tracks your heart rate, your sleep, and your workouts straight from your finger. A week on a single charge, 100 days with the case, and it's fully waterproof. The part that got us was the price. Under $40, a fraction of what the big-name rings cost because it comes direct instead of through the retailers that mark everything up. If you're watching on your TV, pause and scan the QR code on screen with your phone camera, or tap the first link in the description. Now, back to the surprisingly brilliant thinking hiding under all that spectacle. And the course design underneath all that flash is genuinely clever, not just extravagant. The layout was engineered so it can be played in flexible short loops, 3 holes, 6, 9, in a bunch of different combinations, with a crossover point in the middle where groups can skip ahead or double back. That's not random. It's specifically so nobody ever gets stuck waiting, and so the high-stakes betting matches Jordan loves can keep flowing exactly the way he likes them. On top of that, there's a 20-acre practice facility with a 400-yard, double-sided driving range and a data-driven training zone that uses the PGA Tour's own shot-tracking technology to measure every swing. Think about what that means. This is a private course for one man and his friends, built to a higher technical standard than a lot of courses that host actual professional tournaments. It sounds absurdly excessive because it is. But it's also the exact same relentless, detail-devouring obsession that made Jordan the greatest basketball player who ever lived. He didn't switch that instinct off when he retired. He just aimed it at a golf course. And when he's not on that course, he's living a 2-minute drive away, in a compound that's every bit as deliberately engineered. Chapter 3. The Bears Club Compound. So here's where the title of this video needs a little honesty, because Michael Jordan does not actually own the Bears Club itself. The Bears Club is a gated community built by golf legend Jack Nicklaus, whose nickname is the Golden Bear. That's where the name comes from. What Jordan owns is arguably more interesting than owning the club, though. He liked this ultra-secure, low-density enclave in Jupiter so much that he bought not one but 2 massive estates inside it, essentially building his own residential fortress within someone else's exclusive walls. His primary home there is a genuine monster, and he didn't just buy it. He bought the land and built the entire thing from the ground up to his own specifications. The compound is enormous. The main house alone runs around 28,000 square feet, but the full property is actually a cluster of separate structures: the main villa, a guest house, a pool house, and even a 2-story guardhouse because, when you're Michael Jordan, security isn't an add-on, it's built right into the floor plan. And the inside is exactly what you'd design if you were him and money was no object. There's a regulation-size indoor basketball court and a professional-grade gym, which, of course, there is. There's a climate-controlled wine cellar built to hold roughly 2,000 bottles. And there's a dedicated media room specifically engineered with heavy-duty ventilation so it can be, in the real estate listing's own words, cigar-friendly. Because Jordan is famous for enjoying several cigars a day and wasn't about to build a house that couldn't accommodate that. The entire backyard is walled off with a dense screen of mature trees, planted deliberately so that not a single golfer out on the adjacent fairway can see into his property. Privacy, again, engineered into every last corner. And then in 2024, he made a move that tells you he's putting down permanent roots here. He bought a second estate inside the very same community, a 9,000 square foot contemporary villa for around $17 million. Now stop and ask the obvious question. Why on earth would a man buy a second mansion 2 minutes away from the first one he already owns? The answer is the whole philosophy in a nutshell. More room to host the friends and legends he wants around him, more control over exactly who's inside his perimeter, and a deeper commitment to this one specific, heavily guarded pocket of Florida. Notice that he's not sprawling out across the state, snapping up trophy properties in Miami and Orlando and the Keys. He's doing the opposite, concentrating everything, building density inside one secure bubble. That instinct to consolidate rather than scatter is the through line of this entire empire, and it doesn't stop at the water's edge. It rolls right off dry land and out to sea. Chapter 4. The $115 million super yacht. If Jordan controls the land and the Gulf, the water is where his wealth gets truly staggering because his boat is not really a boat at all. It's a floating mansion that costs more than the entire real estate value of some small towns. In late 2022, Jordan bought a super yacht called Membrace. It's a 244-foot German-built mega yacht valued at around $115 million. And here's the number that really lands. Just keeping it running, fuel, the massive crew, constant maintenance, reportedly costs somewhere between $5 and $11 million a year. That's the annual operating cost before you even count the purchase price. It carries a crew of more than 20 to serve just a handful of guests, and the amenities read like a 5-star resort that happens to float across oceans. A helipad on top, a swimming pool on the sun deck, a full gym, a private movie theater, and the real showstopper, an underwater lounge with big glass windows below the waterline so you can sit in a room and watch the ocean drift by beneath the surface. And here's the Jordan touch that ties it right back to everything else. The super yacht isn't even his only vessel. He's got a whole fleet, and the entire thing is branded to him. He owns 2 custom sport fishing boats, and both of them are named Catch 23, the 23 showing up yet again. And both are wrapped in that same signature elephant print pattern from the Air Jordan 3, with the Jumpman logo sitting right on the hull. And he doesn't just park them for show. He actually competes in serious deep-sea fishing tournaments with them and has genuinely won. So it's the identical philosophy from the golf course, just moved offshore. Everything he owns is a private, self-contained, obsessively branded extension of himself. The boats match the jet matches the shoes match the ice cubes. It's all one unified, sealed, monogrammed world. And there's exactly one more piece needed to complete a world like that. The way you move between all of it without ever having to touch the outside. Chapter 5. The $70 million jet covered in his own sneaker. To connect the Florida compound, the golf course, the yacht, and the rest of his life scattered around the globe, Jordan flies on a private jet that is every bit as personalized as everything else he owns, and the details are almost comically on theme. In late 2024, he took delivery of a brand new Gulfstream G650ER, one of the most capable, most expensive private jets money can buy, worth around $70 million, retiring a previous jet he'd flown for 18 years. This new one can fly 7,500 miles nonstop, which means Jordan can lift off from his Florida runway and land in Europe or Asia without ever stopping to refuel. But as always with him, it's the customization that makes it pure Jordan rather than just pure rich. The tail number officially registered on the aircraft is N236MJ, and none of that is random. The 23 is his jersey number. The 6 is his 6 NBA championships. The MJ is his initials. He took the boring, legally required registration code that every aircraft has to carry and turned it into a personal highlight reel bolted to the tail. And the paint job, which reportedly ran around $500,000 just on its own, features that same gray elephant print pattern from the Air Jordan 3 splashed across the fuselage and wings, with a red rear section and the Jumpman logo sitting on the tail fin. So step back and actually picture the full daily circuit for a second, because this is the entire point of everything he's assembled. Michael Jordan can wake up in his 28,000 square foot compound, get driven 2 minutes down the road to a private golf course he owns outright, where drones fly him drinks with his own logo frozen into the ice. He can come back and step aboard a $115 million super yacht for an afternoon on the water. Or he can board a $70 million jet wrapped in his own sneaker pattern and be anywhere on the planet by nightfall. And here's the kicker. At no point in that entire day does he ever have to set foot in a single space he doesn't own or control. That is not a coincidence or a rich man's accident. That is a deliberately engineered bubble, a sealed world with Michael Jordan at the exact center of it. But building and running a bubble like that takes more than an old basketball salary. It takes an active business machine still generating serious money. And that's where the Florida story quietly turns from spending into earning. Chapter 6. The restaurant where he's the house. Jordan's Florida empire isn't only about assets he uses privately. He's also an owner in a high-end hospitality operation that quietly turns his own social circle into a genuine business. And it's a slick little setup. He's a founding partner in an exclusive restaurant and private club called 1000 North, which sits right on the water in Jupiter with views out over the Jupiter Inlet and its historic lighthouse. And the ownership and investor group behind it is basically a who's who of sports royalty. Over time, the names attached to it have reportedly included golf stars like Dustin Johnson and Ricky Fowler and tennis champion Serena Williams, the kind of lineup that turns a restaurant into a destination just by existing. Downstairs, there's a public-facing side, a fine dining room and a casual sports lounge that regular well-heeled customers can book. But the real money and status engine is upstairs, where there's an invitation-only members club with private dining rooms, concierge service, and this is the detail that tells you exactly who it's for, its own 350-foot deep-water dock, so members can literally cruise up in their yachts, tie off, and walk straight in for dinner. Jordan essentially co-owns the single most exclusive clubhouse in town and collects on every plate and every membership that moves through it. Think about how neatly that slots into the rest of his world. The same circle of wealthy friends and fellow legends who play his golf course and cruise on boats like his need somewhere to eat and be seen, somewhere that's just as private and just as exclusive as everything else in his orbit. So Jordan owns that place too. It's not a random restaurant investment, it's the dining room of the entire ecosystem, another walled garden where his people spend money inside something he controls. And that instinct, own the venue where your world already gathers, leads directly into what might be the smartest business move of his entire Florida operation. Because he didn't just build a place for his friends to drink, he built the drink itself. Chapter 7. The tequila that ties it all together. Here's the piece that transforms Jordan's Florida setup from an expensive collection of toys into an actual interlocking business. And it's genuinely one of the sharpest things he's ever done. Back in 2016, Jordan sat down for dinner in New York with 4 other NBA team owners, and over a shared love of tequila, they hatched a plan to build their own ultra-premium brand. They called it Cincoro, a blend of cinco, Spanish for 5, honoring the 5 founders, and oro, meaning gold. It launched in 2019, and this was not some celebrity slapping his face on a generic bottle for an appearance fee. These were 5 billionaires who tested over 1,000 different tequilas before landing on their blend, and the results speak for themselves. Cincoro has sold more than 1.5 million bottles and racked up over 20 awards in serious spirits competitions. Their top-end Extra Añejo bottle sells for around $1,600. And even the bottle design carries Jordan's fingerprints. It's built with a distinctive 23-degree angle, another quiet tribute to his jersey number worked right into the glass. Now watch how the tequila plugs into the rest of the Florida world, because this is where the whole ecosystem finally clicks into place. When Cincoro brought a lineup of new celebrity investors on board, a group that grew to include names like Derek Jeter, Serena Williams, and Michael Strawn, where do you think they held the very first big owners meeting? At Grove 23, Jordan's private golf course. They spent the day tasting tequila and ran a cocktail competition right there on his course. And the winning drink, created by a team captained by Serena Williams, became a permanent menu item served to players at Grove 23. So trace the loop. Jordan co-owns the tequila, he debuts and pours that tequila at the golf course he owns, and he hosts its launch events at the restaurant he co-owns. The tequila sells at the restaurant. The restaurant and the course both serve the tequila. Every single venture feeds the others, and Jordan owns a piece at every stop along the way. The golf course, the restaurant, the tequila, the mansions, these aren't separate hobbies he happens to have. They're a closed circuit where his brand and his money circulate endlessly through assets he controls. That's the exact difference between a rich retiree who buys nice things and a genuine mogul who builds a system. And the pull of the Jordan name in Florida reaches even further than his own front door. Chapter 8. The brand so strong it breaks deals. Before we tie it all together, here's a story that shows the sheer gravitational force of the Jordan name in Florida, and it's wild enough to prove the point better than any yacht or jet could. Start with the straightforward flex. The Jordan brand, his Nike sublabel, has a partnership with the University of Florida, making the Gators one of only a small handful of college programs in the entire country allowed to wear the Jumpman logo on their football and basketball uniforms. That logo is normally reserved for a very short, very elite list. So landing an entire major university's athletic department plants Jordan's commercial flag firmly in the state. But the story that really shows the brand's raw power is the opposite one. The time the Jordan name didn't win a deal, it blew one up. Years back, Jordan's youngest son Marcus played college basketball at the University of Central Florida in Orlando. At the time, UCF had an apparel contract with Adidas, meaning the whole team was supposed to wear Adidas gear on the court. But Marcus, out of pure family loyalty, flat out refused to lace up anything except his father's Air Jordans during games. He simply would not put the Adidas shoes on. And Adidas was so furious about a player publicly and repeatedly rejecting their brand in favor of Nike's that they reportedly terminated their entire sponsorship deal with the university over it. Think about the sheer weight of that for a moment. One college kid wearing the wrong sneakers out of loyalty to his dad cost an entire university its shoe contract. That's not ordinary celebrity influence. That's a brand with enough gravity to snap corporate deals just by being in the room. And it perfectly captures the thing that makes Jordan's presence in Florida different from a normal rich athlete's. It isn't only the tangible stuff you can point a camera at, the yachts and the mansions and the golf course. It's also an intangible force, a name so powerful it physically reshapes the business world around it. So step back and look at the whole thing, because once you connect the pieces, Jordan's Florida operation stops looking like a random rich guy shopping spree and starts looking like a genuinely deliberate design. He took the fortune from being the greatest basketball player who ever lived. A net worth now in the billions, still fueled by that legendary Nike deal that pays him massively every single year. And instead of parking it all quietly in index funds, he built himself a physical kingdom in one corner of Florida. A golf course he controls down to the ice cubes. 2 compounds inside a fortress community. A restaurant where he's the house. A tequila brand that flows through all of it. A super yacht and a jet that let him glide between every piece without ever leaving his own branded world. The genius was never any single asset. Plenty of billionaires own a big boat. The genius is that it all interlocks into one sealed, self-reinforcing ecosystem, where his money and his brand circulate endlessly through things he owns. The same obsessive, controlling, detail-devouring mind that won 6 championships and refused to lose at anything didn't retire when Jordan left basketball. It just found new targets. The pace of a golf round, the sightline into a backyard, the logo on a melting ice cube. Most legends coast once they're done competing. Jordan took that killer instinct and built a world so complete he never has to step outside of it, then stamped his number on every door. That might just be the most Michael Jordan thing he's ever done. If stories about how the biggest names turn fame into empires they control down to the last detail are what brought you here, subscribe to Black Status and we'll keep delivering them. See you in the next one.